We came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Izuku, he don't live in reality. Shake back, all become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing this. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, and I'm back with you with a new What If for you guys. And this one is something I've been looking forward to do for the channel now. Honestly, I was wanting to do this as a special, but personally, I can't wait. If some of you may be knowing, for the past couple of months now, I have basically been glazing the hell out of a gacha game by the name of Wuthering Waves. Sure, the game has been out for at least since last year, and it just, came out for that of the PS5, about that of either the same as last year or like the beginning of the year, depending on who you ask. And I have to say, this has to be one of the greatest gacha games I have played in my entire life. It's literally better than that of Genshin Impact, and that ain't saying much given that the developers don't give a shit about its player base. The devs for Wuthering Waves, they actually listen to that of their, fans actually. Not to mention the characters, the gameplay, and most importantly, its main protagonist. That being the absolute GOAT and the aura farmer that basically puts even Sun Jin Woo to shame, Rover. And that's exactly what this What If is about. This is What If Deku was Rover. And no, I don't mean what if he was the reincarnation of Rover. Far from it. Honestly, the lore around Rover and Wuthering Waves is still a mystery, to be honest. Some say he's basically the first resonator, basically the first person with that of powers within Wuthering Waves, while he is basically being reincarnated over and over for literally thousands of years, with having multiple variant copies of himself. And honestly, I kind of like the whole copy theory, actually. Especially given Wuthering Waves' power system revolves around sound and frequencies. So yeah, any rate, with enough me gassing and glazing Wuthering Waves, let's get into this, shall we guys? In a world where humanity goes through that of evolution, for the past 200 years, humanity gained that of superpowers. For the first early half of those years, those powers were looked down upon and seen as that of monsters, the inhuman, the paranormal, while those without the powers are seen as normal, the true humanity. But that's when things begin to change. As decades and years go by, society begins to reform itself, as more and more people began to be born with powers or quirks. Those that were seen as the abnormal began to become the normal. But as powers began to become more accepted, those with powers began to become greedy, that began to use their powers for their own selfish wants. Just as humanity always said, though, when you have power, why waste it? Why not use it for your own means? Back then, they would be seen as that of terrorists, criminals, but now they are now known as villains. But to combat these villains, a new profession was created, starting from that of Good Samaritans using that of their powers, or rather, quirks, for the good of people, not for recognition, not for fame, but just to do the right thing. They would start off as vigilantes before becoming heroes, or rather, now known as pro-heroes. Society began to revolve around that of one job, that being a pro, to have the power, the recognition, the fame, and the money to be on top. However, one pro would stand above everybody, even though he is the number one hero of one country, and that country being Japan. His existence inspired multiple generations. This hero's name is All Might, the number one hero of Japan, and considered the symbol of peace. A man larger than life, it almost seems like he just appeared out of nowhere. But because of that, his mere existence inspired so many people to be better, to rise up, to become something more, to become heroes. Unfortunately, those people who want to be better and do the right thing are in the small minority, while those who only want to be heroes for fame, glory, fortune, or just to surpass All Might alone are basically wide and beyond. Except one person who would become one of his biggest fans, a young boy with green hair and big green eyes with diamond-shaped freckles, would also be inspired by All Might as well, seeing that saving others, protecting the peace, to him is the coolest and greatest thing that anybody can do. And on that day when he wants to get his quirk, he'll become just like All Might. Unfortunately, fate has other plans, or fortunately, depending on who you ask. He and his mother, Inko Midoriya, would go to the hospital to get him tested to see what kind of quirk he'll get, until a certain doctor with that of, well, big green glasses, with that of a bushy mustache, lab coat and everything, nonchalantly said, "Yep, not gonna happen, kid." With Izuku's entire look completely and utterly shattered, like everything about him completely fell to the ground. Within, soon, Inko saying, "What do you mean, doctor?" Within, soon, that's when the man, otherwise known as Dr. Tsubasa, comments saying, asking about both Inko's quirk alongside that of her husband, as her quirk is basically a weak telekinetic quirk, as she can only attract out of small objects, weighing only that of 1 pound after all, while her husband's quirk, Hisashi Midoriya, is a fire-breathing quirk. With Dr. Tsubasa, couldn't help but say, so the both of you are basically second-generation quirk users. That makes sense. As he begins to explain that of the typical testing on how quirks are found into the body and how they work, but the normal determination on to see if a person even has a quirk to begin with is basically looking at an x-ray of their foot, and especially around that of the double jointed pinky toe. And due to that one little toe joint, Izuku will not or ever gain a quirk. Hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but feel somewhat shattered, broken, entirely, basically mortified by everything that he's heard. On the way home, he wonders, as looking at that of his favorite video of All Might, saving that of multiple people, the video that inspired him to wanting to be a hero too, asking his mom, "He's so cool, isn't he, Mom? Always smiling, always there to save the day. You think?" Within, with tears in his eyes and still having a shaky smile, saying that I could be a hero just like him. Within, Inko collapsing right next to her son, hugging him closely, saying, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Izuku." However, on that very day, two things changed. He knew that nobody would believe in him in his dream of wanting to be a hero. But another thing happened. Something in his mind began to change as he begins to hear a lot more better than normal, hearing certain things that normal other people couldn't hear. Things so small, so light, that it seems impossible to hear nor without a quirk or proper hearing aids at that. Over the years, Izuku wanted to be a hero, still wanted to protect people, but no matter who he told, no matter what he tried, it was meaningless as everybody belittled and looked down on him. Even his former childhood best friend, Katsuki Bakugo, a ashen blonde with that of crimson red eyes, began to look down on him. Not automatically or instantly like that, but mainly over time, especially one incident. About when they were kids and out of the forest, Katsuki fell into that of a small creek over a log, where he was about to just basically shove it off, say that there's no problem. Izuku offered a helping hand to that of the boy that he saw as his friend. To Izuku, it was just a normal gesture that any kid worried about his friend would do. But to Bakugo, whose basically been inflated for years because of his powerful quirk to sweat nitroglycerin explosions out of his hands, saw it as Izuku looking down on him, seeing him as weak. On that very day, Bakugo began to look down and treat him like crap, and in return, everybody else done the same thing to Izuku. But as that time goes by, something begins to change for Izuku as he begins to pick up certain sounds, or rather, frequencies in his head. So much to the point that it begins to become unbearable, to the point that something bad ended up happening. On one day where Izuku was basically being looked down upon at the age of 10 by Bakugo, his lackeys, and a few other people, that's when his hearing basically goes catastrophic, as he begins to hear that of certain rhythm, like a heartbeat, or then it turns into that of a loud, banging noise over and over and over again, to the point that Izuku could basically scream Bloody Mary, with everybody wondering what the hell is with him, with even Bakugo normally thinking that he's just doing this for attention, for the first time feeling somewhat worried. Before then, a bright glow begins to erupt around that of Izuku's right hand, as it almost looks like that of a tear within that of his skin, as that tear opens up, creating that of a bright golden aura that basically erupts around Izuku, with everybody completely and wonderingly shocked, as even Bakugo, with even a few of the teachers that saw this, telling the kids to get away from Izuku, as soon the aura begins to erupt. Before then, it encloses on itself, creating that of a massive crater, and at the epicenter, that being Izuku, all still basically in one piece, but everything else, on the other hand, completely atomized, almost like he became a nuclear bomb, with everybody confused, wondering, wait, but I thought Midoriya was quirkless. He said he was. Was he pretending? It can't be. Could he be a late bloomer by any chance? With then somebody, what's a late bloomer? With everybody being talking, as for Bakugo, he couldn't help but basically numb everything out, as his hearing, as all he can think about is his own thoughts. Thinking, was he lying to me? Was he pretending? Was he looking down on me? No, that was out of nowhere. He wouldn't. That's not Deku. He would never lie. He's horrible at lying. So that means he really did awaken his quirk. While everybody is panicking and the teachers are trying to get the students in check, while a few other teachers, calling that of pros and the police and even that of an ambulance, surprisingly for Izuku. Izuku, on the other hand, currently blacked out, unconscious, begins to hear a voice that he has no idea and hasn't heard at all once in his life, but for some reason sounds familiar, and for some reason feels like he's hearing his own voice. As the 10-year-old boy begins hearing closely, as the voice becomes more and more clearer, it's saying, "So, you're the one who has a fragment of myself, fragments and frequencies of my memories deep within you, which means you are I and I am you." As Izuku's confused by the words, wondering what he meant by that, but then telling him, "It's too early to say. Just focus on what you can do and what you have." The frequency and power of spectro, the power to turn that of a certain sound and frequency level into that of pure and utter light matter that eradicates everything in your sight. Makes sense on why you would have that one first, the same as I did too. Focus on training it, improve. I figured that slowly the frequencies and memories of myself would come to you, since you awakened my power as a resonator after all. Give it time, you'll figure things out. But the best hint I can give you is use a sword. You better find yourself a blade sooner than later. I suggest a sword if anything. Within, the voice soon fades. Before then, that's when Izuku wakes up, but not on that of the same, playground that he was in that of near his elementary school. No, instead he wakes up in the hospital, by his side being that of Inko, who was worried for that of her precious little baby boy. Within, soon, Izuku begins to become more and more consciousness, but as he does, that's when he begins to hear more and more, as it becomes so unbearable, as he can hear people's voices, certain machines, cars outside, people's heartbeat, so on and so forth, that becomes so unbearable, to the point that even covering his ears doesn't help. Within, hearing this, as multiple nurses alongside a doctor comes in to sedate Izuku, with that, the boy goes back under once again, with Inko asking the doctor on what is happening to her son. Did he awaken his quirk? Within, as for the past couple of days since Izuku has been unconscious, they did that of multiple testing on that of his, body. The fact that, and he's still considered that of quirkless due to his double jointed pinky toe, but yet he's able to hear things a lot more better than the normal person without a quirk. Not to mention what he did during his, school. It's safe to say that he does have a quirk in their eyes, but not in the traditional sense after all. Within hearing that, Inko is quite confused, but she can understand what the doctor means. In some way, Izuku developed a quirk, but not in the normal form that it's easy to detect or even analyze or understand so easily, making her feel even more worried for her precious baby boy. As time goes on, Izuku begins to understand what he means, as now, since coming out of the hospital, he has to wear that of certain hearing aids to filter out certain sounds around him, so he doesn't get deaf or become overwhelmed by all the other noise around him, which helps, but outside of one certain frequencies. The frequencies tied to that of his power, while basically being told about what kind of power he did and the kind of stuff that he did at his, elementary school. They wanted to know what kind of to call it. Since it seems to be tied to sound, within, Izuku decided to call his supposed quirk resonator, with everybody somewhat confused, as Izuku feels like it just makes sense to call it that. So now he went from that of a, quirkless boy to now, on his quirk registry, it's quirk resonator. And since then, Izuku's life has actually somewhat improved, as the kids who basically used to look down on him and basically treated him like crap are now sucking up to him, calling him cool and has a powerful quirk, and he could be a great hero now. Because of this, Izuku would be grateful and thanks that for believing in him, and he really is, but he hates the fact that they didn't believe in him until he awakened his apparent quirk, which in his eyes, he doesn't seem like a quirk. Or rather, in how other people explain how quirks work, it doesn't feel like one. Not to mention a few of the kids who brought up that of his hearing aids after all. Some called them cool, while some basically called Izuku now an old man having to need to use them now. Showing that there are some kids who still look down on Izuku, mainly out of jealousy after all. Speaking of jealousy, Bakugo is one of them. He doesn't hate Izuku for hiding his quirk, or looking down on him. Hell, he doesn't hate Izuku at all. But as a kid who's basically been propped up his entire early years, now basically being swept to the side for somebody that he used to look down upon, or somebody that he believed looked down upon him, has actually gotten a lot more stronger, he can't help but feel somewhat frustrated now, and basically declared war on Izuku. That he'll be the greatest hero of all time, even better than him and his stupid light-based quirk or something. Within, Izuku wanted to explain that it's not a light-based quirk, it's within him telling him to shut up, as he was going to be the number one hero, the best hero of the world, just to watch, as the 10-year-old spiky Pomeranian blonde soon basically ran away, leaving that the hope that Izuku believed that he and Bakugo's friendship could be salvaged might be a little bit more harder as time goes on. Speaking of time, as Izuku begins getting older, he begins hearing certain frequencies that begin to jog his memory of things that he's never done. For example, certain memories of him wielding that of a sword, as each time it goes from that of just hearing old sounds of wishing, swinging, and all that, before it begins to become more visual. Then he begins to mimic them over and over, almost like he's done it for so long and forever now. Before then, at the age of 12, saving up a lot of his, allowance money that he gains from that of his mom, and also from his estranged dad as well, overseas. Instead of buying that of new All Might merch like he always does as a kid, instead, he gains that of... He actually looks on that of the internet and finds an old, smithy actually. Ever since that of heroes, support companies have basically become the norm. And places like this, where people still do that of, smithing, like that of, weapon crafting, armor, stuff like that, is basically seen as a dying age, needless, pathetic, and pointless and stuff like that. But for Izuku, because of those memories of him wielding a sword, and him now mimicking him using a sword, he needs to build one himself. Within heading to the outskirts of Masafu, into that of an old ironwork shop, where it basically seems quite outdated, dilapidated, and somewhat run down. But for Izuku, for some reason, it feels like home for some reason. Before then, noticing that of an old man as basically banging down on that of a sword. Before then, calming down. He's done banging before, dumping into that of water. Before then, soon banging it out once more to smooth out that of the edges. Before then, soon hearing that of somebody coming in saying, don't worry, I'll get the money for that what you need. Just give me a little bit more time. Before then saying, no sir, I'm actually here to purchase a sword or make at least a custom model if you can. Within, seeing that of the man, as on the surface, he seems like that of your typical elderly man, possibly at least in his mid-50s, late 50s actually. Shirtless, showing that of showing his muscles, hair already starting to gray. Before then, removing that of goggles, seeing that of his eyes, as they actually look quite reptilian. Before then, saying, a kid? Oh, look kid, I don't know what you heard or anything, but this place isn't a toy shop. So you could say, like I told you, I'm here for a custom order. I want you to make a sword for me. But then, hearing this saying, do you actually know what you're asking, kid? Especially since you're only, how old are you? With Izuku saying, I'm 12 actually. I'll be going in junior high school by a couple months from now. With then saying, ugh, even more of a reason. Listen, besides heroes having to have that of pro hero licensing, especially for new kids and all that, you need that of certain licensing to wield that of weapons, especially for safety reasons. Not to mention, ever since pro heroes exist, weapon laws here in Japan have become a lot more stricter, especially making it harder for that of companies like mine to keep on going. And I don't plan on giving my weapon to that of a kid who probably just wants to swing around a weapon to within Izuku going to that of a sword on a rack within saying, hey, put that, before then swinging that of the blade within it being that of a perfect slash. Like not even what an amateur, like quite perfect to the point that it almost seemed like a master or that of a true expert is capable of, making the man completely and utterly shocked by this. Before then, Izuku didn't basically stop there, sheathing the blade, saying, so, is that enough? Saying, just a simple swing isn't within. Soon, a person coming through that of the door, as it being that of certain other individuals, men wearing suits, actually, within the old elderly man saying, ah, great. As these multiple men, one with that of messy blue hair, one with that of brunette hair going all the way down to that of his neck, as what also stands out is him having that of horns that look like they're a part of his skin popping out, while the other looking like that of a guy with animal features, possibly that of some kind of cat actually. Hard for Izuku to tell what kind though. But then, the man with the messy blue hair saying, Tatsukuri, would you please? We're here for that of the money. With then saying, look, I told you, I don't have the money yet. You gotta wait at least until that of tomorrow. I have a commission from that of Yarimusha, if that's what you're saying. No, sorry. We need the money now. Turns out our boss is pretty much annoyed at the fact that a geezer like you, who owns a rundown shop like this, especially so outdatedly rundown shop, haven't paid a single one of your debts after all. So now we're going to need to at least take what money we can and also take your shop. But then, hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but be shocked by this, as the old man saying, like hell, you bastards already pushed me out of my own shop alongside that of the heroes. This place is all I got left. Told you, I'll get you your money. Just wait in the next couple of days. That's all I'm within. Soon, the blue-haired man saying, sorry, this isn't for negotiation. Before snapping his fingers, as the two other, basically suited men were about to basically to destroy that of the shop, Izuku, not wanting this to happen, grabs that of the sword that he did have before then unsheathing it, but using that of the back end of the katana-like sword before then knocking the guy with that of the cat mutation quirk onto the ground. Not stopping there, as he spins around before then using the back end of the sword once again, basically hits the back end of the knees of that of the long brunette, before then using the scabbard to basically slap him upside the head with it, before as he also not being knocked out and passed out, leaving Izuku with that of the messy blue net. Within, the guy couldn't help but be completely and utterly shocked and confused, alongside that of the old man known as Tokusa. Within, Izuku, pointing that of the sword at the man, at that of the debt collector, saying, I'm going to ask you once, leave this man alone, or you'll be in the same situation as your friends here. Within hearing this, the debt collector man couldn't help but basically click his tongue, saying, look, kid, I don't know what reason you have for basically helping an old man like this, and you should have just stayed out of it while you could. Before then, blue-like energy begins to erupt around that of the man's hands, as it almost looks like that he's about to send an energy blast towards Izuku. However, Izuku saw this coming. Before then, sheathing the sword is then on his right hand, the same mark where he awakened that of his powers as a resonator. The tear light tattoo begins to glow and erupt. Before then, focusing, concentrating, raising his hand up, saying, not a chance in hell. Before then, soon as the energy blast was about to hit that of Izuku, a golden-like aura begins to erupt around him into that of a giant dome of light, as it soon basically affects that of the light energy before it completely dissipates and basically fizzles out like it was nothing. As this is basically the same, attack that he basically used when he first awakened. But instead of basically creating that of a giant massive crater, instead Izuku focused, channeled, and basically changed the frequencies to only affect what Izuku wanted to affect, given the same frequency and sound that the laser blast that was coming straight for him would basically sound like, and switch that frequency to affect it and it alone, basically atomizing it and dissipating it entirely. Within, the man seeing this couldn't help but say, how the hell did you... Before he could basically finish, Izuku jabs him with that of the hilt of the katana-like sword. Before then, not stopping there, dealing that of a powerful axe kick over that of his face, basically dropping into the ground, causing him to also pass out unconsciously as well. With that, Izuku, the old man known as Takajito, couldn't help but be shocked by this, that a 12-year-old kid basically beat the hell out of 3 grown-ass men without even batting an eye or breaking a sweat at all. Then, Izuku basically dragging these guys out, as soon, basically, about to call that at the police and pros, as Takajiro saying, wait, kid, hold up. What the hell did you do? I didn't know that you were basically properly trained. You trained by a hero by any chance? But then, Izuku blinking multiple times saying, no sir, I haven't been trained by a pro at all. If you would believe me, it's completely self-taught. But then, hearing this, saying, self-taught, you, I have a hard time believing that. Before then saying, look, I appreciate you taking care of those debt collectors, but you didn't need to get involved. This could cause trouble for you, saying, even so, doing the right thing is what matters the most for me. Those guys are about to destroy your shop, and even how to hurt you. I couldn't just sit by and do nothing after all. Within hearing that, the old weaponsmith couldn't help but be shocked, saying, you know, kid, you're more a hero than the current heroes of this generation, to be honest. I gotta say. Within hearing that, Izuku saying, that's quite the compliment you're giving me. I really appreciate it. Within hearing that, saying, so, you wanted a commission? Within saying, yes sir. Within saying, alright then kid. For that, just for helping me out, and to help a future hero in the making, I'll make you one of the best swords I can get you. What would you have? Seeing that you were using that katana pretty good, I'm pretty sure that you want to... Actually, could you make a Chinese single-edged Dao sword by any chance? Within, hearing that, saying, you want a Chinese Dao sword? Within saying, yes, actually. Saying, I'm not familiar with Chinese swords, to be honest, but then saying, what the hell? I think I could actually add more to my repertoire if I just started doing something new, to be honest. What's your name, kid? Then Izuku saying, Izuku Midoriya. Then saying, Izuku Midoriya. Leave it to Takajiro, the Ironworks master, at your disposal. And that's what I like to hear. But then, as Izuku tries to explain the kind of sword that he wants, as like he said, a single-edged Chinese Dao sword. However, while Takajiro's taking in notes, he's also taking in his own ideas, wanting to make sure that it's a sword properly made for Izuku. And for the meantime, if he wants to train, he'll lend him one of his swords for free until that of his commission is done, as a tone of, well, payment for helping him out with the debt collectors like before. With Izuku wanting to deny it, saying that he's not worthy of it, but the old man wouldn't have it, saying that the kid deserved it after all, as a token of his gratitude. And with that, Izuku gained a new training sword, while his true sword is being made. Little did Izuku know that the sword that he commissioned would end up being one of the most important weapons of his life. As this is the start on how he became the world's greatest hero. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how did you guys like this? I hope you enjoyed. Sure, this was more explanation and all that stuff. And I haven't shown anything too cool outside of Izuku beating up a bunch of, well, low-level grunt debt collectors after all. But once again, you're just going to have to wait and see as time goes on, when I start showing that of the pure aura farming coolness that is going to be Rover Izuku. So yeah, at any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification key to date my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, my gaming channel, my side channel, my other channel, my Patreon, my Cash App, and my PayPal. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later guys, hope you all take care. You know what to do, my beloved Shiro.
Hi everyone, this is White Fox. If you liked Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell and check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!